launching a 5XS in very little wind. That's quite an adventure. Says a lot for the flare authority of this 5XS though. That is incredible. Woo-wee! Dominator, baby. If you can't launch it, it's worthless. 14 square meter glider. This thing is insane. Awesome performance. So I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna do some more collapse testing. This time with the trims up. And we'll see how she does. Because a lot of gliders, they might be able to pass some basic collapse tests, trims down, but you put the trims up and they become total death traps. Even certified beginner class gliders, if you partially accelerate them, it can make a life and death difference. So very important that you got someone that's testing all aspects of the glider. So if you have trims, you better test and know that it's still safe trims up. Got Super Trevor, #2 pilot in the world right now, behind me, and Super Troy, who has set numerous world records already. Youngest tandem pilot, has been taking people tandem since he was 13. Youngest pilot in the world to ever do a wingtip drag. And a whole bunch of others. I can't even remember all of them. It's pretty incredible. See my kiddos. Super Trevor's my nephew. Everybody thinks he's my son, but hey, I'll accept him. That's my boy. But it's Jordan and Troy who are my sons. And Jordan has a date. So it looks like it's the three of us today. All right, so I'm gonna just climb up over the lake here, and then I'm gonna go trims up and yank some collapses and see if I die. If I die, I won't sell you this glider. If I live, it's probably pretty freaking cool. I mean, this has really never been done with a 14 square meter like this before. It just, they don't even certify most of them in these sizes because they just don't expect it to be anything but completely psycho. So let's see what we got here. Here we go, full frontal. Boom. And she pops back out. But I did help it a little bit. Let's try that again. Now, a glider like this, you do expect some pilot input. So you don't expect, because you wouldn't sell this glider to a newbie unless they weighed 80 pounds or something like that. Then it'd be a good size for them. But this glider expects that you are going to do a little active piloting. At least you have, you know, you should be at least a solid pilot before you fly something this small. So let's try that again. And full frontal, boom. And bam, that was all by its lonesome, so I didn't help it at all that time. But it did take a little longer than I would have preferred. Let's do it again. Boom. And boom, there we go. So it takes, that definitely loses some altitude with the trims wide open like that. That is kind of interesting. It did open completely by itself, and it did so without shooting off to the left or right. But it definitely takes longer. If you do that on the larger size, it's open faster than you can look up. So that was a little bit funky as far as that frontal. Now, when I helped it, it did open much faster, obviously, if you give it a little bit of assistance. So that one, well, not the best outcome. I mean, not perfect. You really wouldn't expect a glider like this to be perfect, but that was actually pretty good for a 14 square meter 5XS. I'm basically flying a napkin. Okay, we're gonna go for an asymmetric. So basically we got a 180 dive. And that was basically a 90-degree dive. I'm holding a little touch of right brake to help it just a little bit. It's a very small loaded glider. Now this time I'm going to help it a little bit more. Let's see if we can basically fix it. And bam, that's what should happen. So that's with what active piloting, that would be your normal reaction. If you took an asymmetric collapse left, you would instantly weight shift right and use right brake. So with that one, I gave some active piloting. I didn't even try very hard. Just basic input and bam. That was a beautiful pass. It didn't even stop flying, so it continued flying the whole time. So that was pretty freaking awesome. Not too super thrilled with the full frontal. That one seems to take a little bit of time if you don't do anything. But again, a glider like this would never be flown by a moron who does nothing that was trained in aviator PPG. If you never had a day of actual training by someone that knows what they're doing, you would never ever fly a glider like, well, you really shouldn't fly at all. But basically, a glider like this is designed for a pilot that knows what the freak they're doing. So here we go, let's do that. Let's do a full frontal again, but this time I'm gonna actively pilot it. Okay. Bam. And a secondary, that's my fault. But again, not the perfect result from a full frontal trims up. Let's try that one more time. And that was better. But like other gliders, I'm still losing altitude. See, that's like an ENB or ENA. If you're flying in ozone, that's about how bad it would be. You would lose altitude like that. I'm so spoiled flying a Dominator, I'm not used to losing altitude. So I expect absolute perfection. But 14 square meter, full frontal, it seems you are going to lose some altitude from that one. Which you would think, but hey, we get pretty spoiled with Dominators. Now let's do this asymmetric again, because that's a lot more likely than a full frontal. Full frontal is very, very rare. Far more rare than an asymmetric collapse, because usually you're getting nailed on one side first. So let's try that asymmetric collapse again. And I'll give a bit of active piloting and do some pilot crap. So here we go. Trims wide open, trims up. Off power, yank, boom, and basically reopen. Maybe a little bit of a turn. And bingo, open. Didn't stop flying at any point. A little more violent. Okay, that's pretty freaking good. Actually, let's see here. Let's try this again. Oh, better pull trims. Now let's just give you a perspective of trims down on that. I'm pretty low, but here's trims down. This is trims down. Boom. Like totally nothing trims down. So trims down, this glider is like any other Dominator basically. Boom, yank, nothing, doesn't even give a crap. Yank, it pops out faster than you can actually let off the riser. So that's trims down. So trims up, it's a little bit more of a handful, expects you to do a little bit of your job, but the asymmetric, that's pretty freaking respectable. Guarantee you that's better than any other glider that this would compete with. A 14 square meter glider is just insanely, I mean, that is a tissue paper of a glider. Typically, you know, people are flying 30 square meters. So, okay, let's go have some fun. And we're gonna do the test with loading here and see how well we can do some foot drags. Okay, normally I would do this trims up for maximum speed, but since I got my Chase Chama guy, he's never gonna keep up with me when I'm on a 5XS and I'm heavier than he is. So I'm gonna do it trims down, which I got plenty of speed anyway. Okay, here we go. And a foot drag. Wow, this is freaking awesome. Incredible control. Man, it's so freaking Dominator. I know it's a Dominator, but you go this small, and other gliders would be psycho gliders of death in this type of size, where this Dominator is just freaking awesome. This is incredible. Foot dragging! Yeah, I'm looking straight down, yep. So this is really incredible for such a small glider to have such incredible precision on your altitude control. So being able to control perfect altitude like this on a tiny glider is absolutely critical, because when you come into land, you need to be able to hold perfect altitude in order to land properly. So very, very important. Oh yeah, ooh, let's go have some fun. Yeah, baby! That was wicked! And that's on a 5XS, people! Dominator, extra, 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 extra small. 5XS, to have that kind of precision control is just mind-blowing. That is absolutely phenomenal, doing that on such a tiny glider. Because most tiny gliders like that are so twitchy, it's just very difficult to get really precise altitude control. So let's do that again. Let's see if we can keep from going swimming. Now that's what I'm talking is precision, baby, right there. Precision flying on a 5XS Dominator. Trims up, that full frontal isn't quite Dominator, but asymmetric collapses maintain freaking awesome Dominator-ish, both trims up and trims down. Of course, trims down, the full frontal's piece cake perfect, no problem. But trims up, keep in mind the glider's, you know, accelerated, hauling freaking butt. So you are moving some serious butt cheeks with trims up on a 5XS. All right, let's go for 180 here. Go back through my wake. This is going to be an adventure. Come here, wake. Come here, wake. Woo, there's the wake. Oh, yeah. yeah! Perfect precision control. Right to the wake on a 5XS Dominator with no landing in the water and dying. Woo-hoo-hoo! Yeah, baby! That's freaking awesome! This Dominator freaking rules! Woo! We should call it the Dominator napkin. Tissue paper! Booyah! This thing's smaller than a tablecloth. Oh yeah, that's it. Here comes the wake. And there we go. Let's do it. 180 to the right. I'm walking on butter, baby. Woo! I am having some fun. I am running on a shoreline. And through the wake, whoop, yep, Dominator, baby. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, saved it. Wake, I am airborne, not swimming. Yeah. Perfect altitude control, even while doing circle foot drags on water. Of course, I knew I had perfect control, or I wouldn't have done that. You would never do that if you felt even the slightest twitch from that glider. If it was funky at all, that would be a total no-go. But watch this one. Dominator straight at the trees and brakes. Whoa! So you have a lot of flare authority. I just jumped maybe 35 feet. There we go, let's do that one again. So even with a 14 square meter, you have huge flare authority, so you can really climb. Look at that, whoop, bam, up she goes. Right there, dive her back down. Oh yeah. Dominator, baby, You gotta get you one of these. So who is the 5XS for? Why do you want a 5X? The 5X is freaking cool. So it gives you more speed and more performance, and you're really only sacrificing a bit of safety on that full frontal trims up. Realistically, everything else is just straight up Dominator like any other size. So the key is it allows you to fly in a wider range of weather conditions. If all you have is a 30 square meter, you can't fly 98% of the time because the conditions are too strong. And if you've got, say, a 25 square meter, well, now you can deal with just a little bit more conditions, but you're still limited in where and when you can fly. With a 5X Dominator, you have the widest range of weather conditions. You can literally fly in 35-mile-an-hour winds. No problem. So speed. So say you live at the beach where the wind's always blowing 25 miles an hour. Well, if you don't have a 5X Dominator, you ain't flying. That's it. So it widens the ability and the conditions of where and when you can fly. So it's nice to be able to go out and fly whenever the freak you want. Instead of being like, you know, people trained by Kurt Pfister who can never fly because they can't even launch. They have no skill at all because they've never actually had any proper training. He just scammed them. Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can make that turn. I don't know if we can make a turn quite that sharp at this speed. Whoa! Okay, that was fun. Holy fudge-a-muffin! Woo-hoo-hoo! Wow! That is so fun! So why do you walk on water? Because it's like the coolest thing ever. But do not even think of trying this if you don't have a freaking flat top. If you see people doing foot drags on water without a flat top, they are just, you know, a hamburger short of a Happy Meal. These people are clueless. Other paramotors will sink immediately in water, and they have so many buckles you can't get out to save your life. Now, it's not going to be fun landing in the water with a flat top, but it can float and it has a quick release harness. That is a life and death difference between some piece of crap Scout or mini plane or Parajet or Blackhawk that's going to sink immediately in water and kill people. Literally 5 people died from drowning in 1 single year. Just drowning alone. 5 people dead, all because they didn't buy a flat top. Now, obviously, you can die on anything. I'm not saying it's impossible to die on a flat top. The liars like to suggest that. But that's not it. It's about odds. If you have a quick release harness and a unit that floats, what are the odds that you're going to drown? Obviously, they are 1,000 times lower than a unit that sinks immediately and has so many buckles you can't get out to save your life. So big, big differences. Again, it's not about opinions. It's about facts, reality, logic. Seriously, do you even have to be a pilot to think about what's going to happen if you go in the water with a paramotor that sinks immediately and has so many buckles you can't get out to save your life? Well, duh, you're going to drown. I mean, it's like a retard could tell you that. No offense to retards, because retards are very cool, loving, kind, some of the coolest people you'll ever meet. They wouldn't lie to you. They're very apt to tell you the 100% straight up truth. But you get these other scumbags selling total garbage like Scout and Parajet. They don't give one rat crap about your life. They won't tell you how many people have actually died on that gear in the same ways over and over and over without them ever fixing the freaking problem. They just death after death after death. I mean, literally over 100 people have been shredded in props on crap like that. I mean, how could any decent, person, any human actual person with any rational, logical thought just not tell somebody that one trip and fall and you're going to chop your hand off with a piece of crap paramotor? And it's happened over 100 times, and then they sell them to total beginners? Yeah, it's a good versus evil, people. There are people that are seriously freaking evil. Anyone flying or promoting Scout or Blackhawk or Fresh Breeze, these people are evil. It is not about Ford versus Chevy. Ford and Chevy both have to meet exactly the same safety requirements. There are 0 safety requirements to a paramotor, and the flat top is the only one that has been developed to address all of the hundreds of issues in the sport. All of them. No other paramotor addresses more than 1, maybe 2 of them, but the flat top addresses all of them. That's why competent pilots only fly flat tops. It's that simple. And, the liars and trash talkers can go, oh, sales pitch, you're just nothing but sales pitch. But look, if I'm the best pilot in the world, it's my moral obligation to warn you of pitfalls that lay before you. That is a commandment from God. Warn thy neighbor of pitfalls that lay before them. Now, chopping your hand off, I would call a pretty big pitfall. Getting the brake toggle in the prop and having it lock you into a face-down spiral to your death, that is a pretty huge pitfall. Smacking in and breaking your back and dying because you didn't even have certified high hook-in points, that is a pretty big pitfall. So it is my moral obligation to share this information. Do you think I really want to take my whole time flying explaining to you how not to die? Well, it's my moral obligation. If I'm out showing you how freaking cool this is and saying it's the coolest thing in the world, which it is, I morally have to warn you that is only if you fly a flat top and a Dominator and you get super trained. If you do not get all three of those, you are a moron who does not belong in aviation. And hey, if you don't like the cold hard truth, you don't belong in aviation. Aviation is for people that are a little sharper than average, that are logical, rational people. Not for people that are upset and get their panties in a wad because you pointed out facts about somebody else's gear that kills people. Come on, that's logical and rational. Anytime someone dies, the first thing people want to know is what happened and how can I prevent that from happening to me? Well, the best way to prevent that from happening to you is to fly a flat top, a Dominator, and get super trained. Period. Okay, let's go have some fun. Yeah, so how do I know where to do a foot drag? Look at the water where there's ripples. That's where there's gonna be bumpy air or wind and kind of some funky air. Where there's no ripples at all, that's basically generally a dead zone where you have like no wind at all. And if you got no wind, you got no turbulence over water like that generally. So you kind of look for the smooth water, and that's the place to do it. But again, remember, if you go in the water, which you're going to do, if you do this long enough, you're going to have a problem and end up in the water. You do not want that to happen without a flat top. Quick release harness and a unit that floats. So, big, big difference. See, I'm talking about it again. Why? Because you're gonna freaking die if you don't listen. I don't want to entice you with the coolest thing on the planet only to drag you in and have you die because you didn't freaking listen to my advice. If you want to do what a super does, you have to follow the way a super attains that. You don't become the best pilot in the world without massive amounts of experience, and you don't get massive amounts of experience if you're dead. So you got to figure the best pilot also knows a thing or two about safety. You don't just get lucky. This is not a luck thing. You either have the skill or you don't. You ever seen anyone else doing circle foot drags on water on a 14 square meter? Hello. Super skills, baby. Precision. And not just skills, but skills to such an extent that you are 100% confident in your skills and confident in the safety of your gear. So when you mess up, the odds are you just go swimming, which is highly inconvenient, but hey, you have a nice video, you live to tell about it. Okie dokie. Don't hit a tree. If you hit a tree, it can snag your lines and rip your butt out of the sky. So do not hit a tree. Right now, let me show you. I would land it right there. Piece of cake. See, told you. For all those whiners, oh, he's gonna crash. What if you have a motor out? Well, at any time, say motor out, and I'll show you what happens. I actually practice that a lot. That is something really good to practice. At any time, you should just let off the throttle and simulate a motor. Oop, motor out. Here we go. Bring her down to the ground, aim it into the wind, and flare that out. No problem. I might trip and fall down, but wouldn't be too bad. So you gotta be careful aiming yourself at a fence or a tree line where if your motor died, you have no outs. So that's a big part of super training is we're always constantly hammering into you to always pay attention to your altitude when you're going with the wind. You always want to have enough altitude where you can turn into the wind and make a safe landing in a safe area. So if you got nothing but rocks and boulders under you, you better stay high enough to where you can glide to a safe landing. So kind of cool. Mountains are a great place to fly. If I shut my engine off above that mountain, I can literally land at my back door with the motor off. I've actually done that. Pretty freaking cool. Okay, let's teach you about some landing techniques. Now, another reason foot drags are so critical is because that is the epitome of active piloting. The ability to control altitude, give or take 1 inch, is exactly the skill you need to make perfect launches and perfect landing, because that's exactly what you're doing, is controlling altitude with precision. Because if you sink into the ground at 5XS types of speeds, you're going to hit pretty dang fast. So it's very important that you can control that altitude properly. Woo! Okay, so first thing we need to know is where's the wind. So how do I check the wind with no wind side? What I do is I fly in a gentle circle and try and determine which way I'm going the slowest, which is right there. So I need to land basically down the road. Okay, motor out. Whoop, here we go. And dive in and flare it out. Boom, there we go. See? Again, always want to keep practicing that. Doesn't matter what your skill level is. You fly different gliders, different sizes. A smaller glider is going to dive farther if the motor dies. So at any point, you want to know that you're ready to make that landing. So notice I'm getting a lot more altitude before I turn downwind. So that if my motor dies, I have the altitude to make that landing. Okay, so let's set this up here. I'm going to come in high, where if the motor dies, I can shut off and turn into the wind and make that landing. Now you can't fly over houses, so I have to come around the house to be legal. If something falls off your paramotor or your phone falls out of your pocket, it better not hit somebody in the head. So here we go, and I'm going to bring it around, and I'm going to set up my foot drag into the wind right here, and I am hauling booty. Woo! That is 5XS, baby. And almost no wind at all. There is very little. Look at this. And it's going that way, as I showed you. Remember when I said which way the wind was? But I chose to land down the road instead. So anyway, that is how you land. Foot drag. Foot drag is like, as soon as you get flying, that is one of the best things to practice. Of course, at super training, guess what? We teach you that right from the get-go. Now, how do we teach you that right off the bat? Well, it's not about doing a foot drag. It's about maintaining the altitude of your butt using the glider. So at super training, you don't see people standing lock-legged all day. And if somebody's standing lock-legged with their body weight on their feet, they are not loading the glider. They are doing it wrong and backwards. So instead of standing straight up and down, you lean and basically fall over backwards and then catch yourself with the glider. So if you add brakes, it'll produce more lift. And so if you start falling backwards, boom, you add brakes and you lift yourself up. But if it starts lifting you up too high, then you put hands up, dump lift, and drop back down. So brakes, add lift, hands up, brakes, hands up, brakes, 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 hands up, left, right, hands up, brake, brakes. You're making 4 or 5 corrections per second in order to maintain that perfect altitude like that. And that is what we train you, or one of the zillions of things we teach you at super training right off the get-go. So you literally have that altitude control before you ever take your first flights at super training. You literally have that skill before you ever fly. Why? Because if you don't have that skill, you cannot prevent a collapse. So now think about this. If you can perfectly control, so look at this. Here we go. Let's try this. So here's my paramotor. Now watch. As soon as it falls, okay, it's falling, brakes. You lift it up. This is your body now, okay? Let's pretend this is your body, not the glider. As you fall, you add brakes. That lifts you up. As it starts lifting you up, hands up, dump lift, brakes, hands up, 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 until you can get to where you can control the altitude of your lean by 1 inch, give or take 1 inch. Now, how does that relate to preventing a collapse? That is loading control. So if you feel that loading and are that precise of controlling the loading, you're going to feel the glider start to unload in the air. If it surges forward and you feel the slightest drop in lift, it feels exactly like falling backwards. Boom, you add the perfect amount of brake to regain that pressure. So the odds of a super taking a collapse are, thousands of times less than some moron who trained, with Joe Blow that doesn't know what he's freaking doing. So, you can see people flying, and this is really frustrating because people see someone flying and they think, oh, that's a guy's got skill. But his hands aren't moving. If the hands aren't moving, the guy has no skill. The guy with skill, you look at the hands and boom, 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 boom. Not only do you see small corrections, but you're seeing constant, tiny, left, right, hands up, brake, hands up, so fast. That is skill. So it's very, very important to train with someone that can explain the details and the nuances and teach you how to prevent that glider from collapsing. Because without active piloting, which is exactly what I just showed you, without that, you are thousands of times more likely to take collapses. It's like trying to kite without touching the brakes. Of course it's going to collapse instantly. Wham, wham, left, right, all over the place. That's going to happen. Now, in perfectly smooth air, yes, of course, you could fly no hands, and it's going to be stable. It's, basically inherently stable. We're talking about adverse conditions. There is no such thing as perfectly smooth air. People say, oh, I only fly in perfectly smooth air. Really? How do you control the weather? You can't. If you fly the length of a beach, which we just did, we had anything from 12-mile-an-hour wind to 0 and tree rotor and this, and you fly around in circles, you go through your wake. If you don't have this loading control from super training, just going through your wake has knocked people out of the sky before. Just that. There's a video of a Black Hawk instructor goes through his wake, does a backflip 180 on a total death trap, Black Hawk glider, and backflip 180 face first into the ground. Boom. That is a lack of even the most basic skills. That's why those guys crash and get killed all the time, is because they never learn the basics from an actual instructor. You see all these people out there going, oh yeah, I'm an instructor. Really? Let's see your skill. Let's see the skill of your student. You got to have some logic, people. Don't just believe. If somebody says they're an instructor, you don't go, oh, hey, okay, well, I'll trust my life to you then. No. Double check them. Look and verify what's going on. Because sadly, I'm the only real instructor in the world. How's that for a mouthful? And again, I challenge anyone. I challenge you specifically because you will learn that what I'm saying is accurate. I don't want you to blindly believe me. If I say I'm the best in the world, the first thing you should say is, prove it, show me yourself doing what nobody else can do. And so, well, we got tons of videos. Just look up world's best paramotor pilot. Somebody says they're the best instructor in the world. The very first thing you should say is, show me, prove it. Do not just blindly believe people. So I challenge you to go out and try and prove me wrong, because the more you research and try and compare the actual skill of other people's students to the actual skill of super students, the more you will know how incredible supers are. Here we go. Watch this. Braking, loading, hands up, diving it in, perfect brake control, slides it to a stop, turns, lands it. Super Jordan! in, yeah, funky, weird, crosswind, air, no problem, piece of cake. That's my boy! That's my boy. He rocks. But that's a perfect example of skill. It's not a maybe. He comes in, he manages the altitude, bam, he makes it perfect. That's super. You don't want to maybe be able to land without crashing. You want it 100%. Super Jordan! Yeah! Okay. So I guess that's a good for today. That's lesson for today. Look at the facts, people. Have some fun, but do it safely. Let's go flying. I love my boy!